Imagine a digital archaeologist, right, like 1,000 years from now, just digging up the remains of the year
Oh,
2026.
yeah. Looking for some sort of grand wisdom from our time.
Exactly. But instead of, I don't know, a massive library or some beautifully preserved philosophical text, they just uncover a single plain text file.
Which is honestly a lot more likely given how our data works today.
Right. And this file, it contains exactly one sentence in Turkish, followed by a list of 9 mysterious alphanumeric codes. And well, today we actually have that exact file sitting right in front of us for this deep dive.
We really do.
And what seems like a completely sparse, almost useless piece of digital debris, it actually reveals a terrifying amount about how you, me, and basically everyone else tries to control our own destinies.
It's wild. It is the ultimate exercise in looking at the negative space of information.
The negative space.
Yeah, I mean, we are so used to dissecting loud, crowded informational landscapes, like dense research papers, hours of audio, endless articles.
Right, the usual stuff we do here.
Exactly. But this document, which is simply titled ballooninlinkler.txt, it just strips all the noise away. It completely forces us to look not at the content of our beliefs, but the infrastructure of how we seek them out.
So true. So let me just lay out exactly what we're working with today so you, the listener, know the parameters of this mystery.
Please do.
Inside this text file, as I mentioned, is one Turkish sentence. Translated, it reads, the following links are this week's astrology comments. Please reference the content on these sites.
Just incredibly blunt.
Yeah. And right beneath that highly specific instruction are exactly 9 distinct YouTube video URLs. No transcripts, no audio files, no summary of what the stars are actually doing, just a list of pointers.
Which means our mission for this deep dive has to shift entirely from our usual approach.
Right, we can't do a normal content analysis.
No, we aren't here to tell you whether Jupiter's transit is going to bring you financial ruin or romantic success this week.
Which is a shame, honestly. I could use the heads up.
We all could. But we can't do that anyway because the actual content is locked behind those specific links. Instead, we have to analyze this data set as a cultural artifact.
So we're exploring what a curated, isolated list of 9 distinct video links tells us about, like, modern digital consumption.
Exactly that. The human instinct for consensus seeking and how we hunt for guidance in a really chaotic world.
Well, let's start with the actual instruction provided by whoever put this file together. The Turkish text is Aşağıdaki linkler bu haftanın astroloji yorumlarıdır.
Meaning the following links are this week's astrology comments.
Right. Followed immediately by Lütfen bu sitlerdeki isimleri referans al. Please reference the content on these sites.
It is so imperative.
It really is. It's incredibly blunt. There is no mystical preamble, no greeting about the phases of the moon or the shifting tides.
It reads more like an academic syllabus, right? Or maybe an IT protocol rather than a spiritual guide.
Yes, an IT protocol.
By using the word reference, the creator is framing these videos not as casual entertainment, but as foundational texts.
It's like someone handing you a treasure map, but instead of drawing the terrain, the mountains, the rivers, the traps you need to avoid, they just hand you a list of GPS coordinates on a blank sheet of paper.
Just raw data points.
Yeah, and they just say, good luck, go to these spots. It immediately makes you wonder how you're supposed to find meaning in the pointers themselves rather than the treasure they point to.
Well, I think you have to look at the history of how human beings have sought authority over time.
Okay, take us back.
So, thousands of years ago, you would look directly up at the physical cosmos to understand your place in the world.
Right, tracking the stars yourself.
Exactly. Later on, you look to the local mystic or the village elder, someone in your community.
Oh, sure.
Then it shifted to printed almanacs and eventually the daily newspaper Horoscope. But the key there is that authority used to be centralized and visible.
And now it's completely decentralized and digitized.
Highly digitized. By commanding the reader to reference the content on these sites, the person who compiled this list is making a really fascinating admission.
What are they admitting?
They are essentially saying, I do not hold the answers to what this week brings, but I trust the algorithmic sorting that brought me to these 9 specific digital locations.
Wow.
They are completely outsourcing their spiritual authority to the internet.
They're curating the prophets. It's an act of, digital priesthood.
That's a great way to put it.
They hold the keys, and they are telling you which specific digital doors you need to walk through to find your destiny.
And this brings us to the actual doors themselves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The format of these links is totally critical to understanding the modern search for meaning.
Right, let's actually look at the coordinates. I'm looking at the first YouTube URL in the document here.
Go ahead and read it.
The identifier at the end of the link is lowercase l, capital Y, dash, capital Z, 4, 8, lowercase q, lowercase j, capital Q, lowercase d, capital U.
Just rolls right off the tongue.
It's just 11 characters of total gibberish, and there are 8 more of these identical opaque strings listed right below it.
It doesn't exactly have the romantic ring of ancient Latin or Greek, does it?
Not at all. It feels so clinical.
But the mechanism behind that 11-character string is actually a marvel of modern engineering. And it perfectly illustrates how we've traded celestial mechanics for server mechanics.
Okay, explain how that 11-character string actually works, because to me, just looking at it, it just seems like a random password that my browser suggested.
It basically is.
But why 11 characters specifically?
It all comes down to database architecture and the sheer scale of human creation. You have to remember, YouTube needs a way to uniquely identify every single video ever uploaded.
Right, instantly.
Instantly, and without a database collision. So they use a system called Base64 encoding.
Base 64, so that means 64 different possible characters for each slot.
Yes, exactly. They use all 26 uppercase letters, all 26 lowercase letters, the numbers 0 through 9, and 2 symbols.
Usually a dash and an underscore.
You got it. That gives you 64 options. Now, if you create a string that is 11 characters long using those options, the mathematical number of possible combinations is 64 to the power of 11.
Okay, my math is terrible. Which is how many?
It is roughly 73 quintillion.
Wait, 73 quintillion?
Yes, that is 73 followed by 18 zeros.
That is insane.
To put that in perspective, every single human being on Earth could upload a video every minute for thousands of years, and the system still wouldn't run out of unique 11-character URLs.
73 quintillion combinations. So when someone is searching for their astrology forecast, they are mathematically plucking a handful of specific grains of sand out of an infinitely massive digital desert.
And that is what makes this text file so profound to me. For the database, ly-z, whatever, it's just a primary key.
Just a way to locate a file on a server rack somewhere.
Yeah. Exactly. On a rack in a massive data center. But for the person clicking it, that string of characters is the exact modern incantation they navigate to for cosmic reassurance.
That is such a stark contrast.
You no longer need an astrolabe and a clear night sky.
Right.
You need an internet connection and an 11-character base 64 string.
It really emphasizes the sheer volume of information we are swimming in right now. And honestly, that actually brings me to the most glaring pattern in this entire document.
The amount of links.
Yes. It's not just that we have 1 or 2 of these unique links. We have 9. 9 separate links for a single week's forecast.
The volume is absolutely the core psychological tell here.
I mean, think about your own habits for a second. If you have a trusted source for something, say a favorite tech reviewer or a favorite political commentator, you usually just watch their one video to get your bearings right.
Sure. Usual one is enough if you trust them.
So the fact that we have 9 distinct URLs here suggests the curator is aggressively refusing to rely on just one voice.
It points directly to a behavioral phenomenon known as cognitive load and digital consensus seeking.
Okay, walk us through that. Because on the surface, checking 9 different sources for 1 week sounds like it would create the ultimate paralysis.
You would think so, yeah.
You've probably done this yourself with a weather app, right? You check one app, it says rain at 3 p.m., you don't like that answer, or maybe you just don't trust it, so you check a second app.
And that one says cloudy.
Exactly. You check a third, it says thunderstorms. Eventually, the conflicting data paralyzes you and you just never leave the house.
It's overwhelming.
So how does having 9 different people tell you about your week actually reduce anxiety instead of, compounding it?
It seems counterintuitive, I know. But the mechanism makes perfect sense when you are dealing with interpreted or highly uncertain information.
Because astrology isn't an exact science.
Right. Astrology isn't empirical. You can't put the vibe of next Tuesday under a microscope. When faced with high uncertainty, humans naturally seek a critical mass of opinions to reduce their internal cognitive load.
Oh, I see. So they are triangulating the truth, like cell towers trying to pin down a location.
Exactly like that. You act as the receiver, aggregating the signals. If video 1 says it's a great week for career advancement, but video 2 warns of workplace conflict, you have cognitive dissonance.
They're stressed.
Very stressed. But if you watch videos 3 through 9 and say 5 of them also hint at professional success, your brain relaxes.
Oh, wow.
The sheer mass of the data provides the comfort, not the individual accuracy of any single video. You are essentially crowdsourcing your fate.
If the majority rules, democracy dictates the cosmos. That is fascinating.
It really is.
It's a way of artificially generating certainty where none actually exists. If enough people say it's going to be okay, it just becomes true in your mind.
And we have to look really closely at the temporal restriction in the text to fully grasp this.
What do you mean by temporal restriction?
The curator specifically wrote "buhaftanyan," meaning this week's.
Oh, right.
This isn't a comprehensive lifelong birth chart they're putting together. This isn't a yearly overview looking at broad generational trends.
It's immediate. It's happening right now.
It is intensely immediate. The urgency of needing 9 distinct navigational beacons for a fast-approaching 7-day window makes this compilation a micro snapshot of modern anxiety.
Because a week is a very short amount of time.
Extremely short. To require 9 different sources of reassurance to get through from Monday to Sunday, it implies that the daily waters feel incredibly turbulent to the person who compiled this list.
You don't build a 9-link digital bunker if you think it's just going to be an average Tuesday.
Exactly.
The density of the curation is directly proportional to the perceived emotional stakes of the week.
That is the perfect way to articulate it. The deeper the anxiety, the wider the net is cast for reassurance.
But wait, are we overthinking the permanence of this?
How so?
Well, we are treating this text file, this ballooninlinkler.txt, like it's some sacred map. We are analyzing the 11 character codes and the psychology of the curation.
Right.
But if YouTube's servers crash tomorrow, or, I don't know, if a creator decides to clean up their channel and delete last week's video, these links go completely dead.
They do.
Doesn't that make this entire map completely useless the second the internet connection breaks?
You are hitting on the fundamental fragility of modern knowledge. What you're talking about is link rot, which is a very real phenomenon.
Link rot, I've heard that.
Yes. The gradual decay of hyperlinks over time as websites are restructured or servers are shut down or content is simply deleted.
It just vanishes.
A huge percentage of the internet from even 10 years ago is already gone. It just returns 404 error pages.
So the moment the creator deletes the video, this text file just points to empty space.
It does. And if we contrast this with how humans used to archive their wisdom, the shift is staggering.
Like we were saying earlier with the stones and tablets.
Exactly. Ancient astrological texts, the ones we still study today, were carved into stone monoliths or baked into clay tablets in Mesopotamia or carefully transcribed onto heavy parchment.
They were tangibly designed to survive the people who wrote them.
Yes.
Like, if a city fell or an empire collapsed, the stone remained. The information was inextricably linked to the physical object.
But our current prophecies, our modern attempts to understand the future, they are entirely ephemeral.
It's just float in the cloud.
They live on vulnerable silicon drives, accessible only through these 73 quintillion to 1 alphanumeric strings. The sum total of our modern spiritual guidance is one bad server migration away from disappearing forever.
Which brings us back to my question. If the links go dead, which they inevitably will, whether it's next week or in 20 years, doesn't this text file just become garbage data?
I don't think so.
Really? Does a list of URLs hold any intrinsic value once the unseen content is wiped?
I would argue that it holds immense value, perhaps even more value than the videos themselves.
I mean, how is a dead link valuable?
Because the true enduring value of ballooninlinkler.txt is as a fossil of human intent.
A fossil of intent.
Yes. Even if every single one of those 9 videos returns a 404 error tomorrow, this document proves something important. It proves that in the early 21st century, when faced with the overwhelming uncertainty of a looming week, a human being sat down, sifted through an ocean of digital noise, selected 9 specific voices, and commanded someone else to rely on them.
The intent survives the content.
Yes. The URLs might break, the servers might turn to dust, but the behavioral architecture, the profound aching need to be guided, and to organize the chaos, it remains perfectly legible in this simple text file.
That's beautiful.
The curation itself is the ritual. The act of making the list was the magic spell that provided comfort, regardless of what the astrologers actually said in the videos.
When you frame it like that, it's actually incredibly moving. It's not just a list of random internet links. It's a testament to how hard we try to make sense of our time here.
It shows that underneath the technology, underneath the base 64 encoding and the massive server farms, the human heart is doing the exact same thing it was doing when it looked up at the stars from the desert thousands of years ago.
It is asking, what happens next and will I be okay?
Exactly.
Well, let's summarize the journey we've just been on, because it is wild to think about where we started.
It really is.
We opened with arguably the sparsest piece of source material we have ever examined for this show, a plain text file containing one functional Turkish instruction, Aşağıdaki linkler bu haftanın astrology yorumlarıdır, and 9 opaque YouTube links.
No transcripts, no audio, just the raw metadata of someone's curiosity.
Exactly. And by analyzing just the pointers themselves, we unpacked the mechanics of how we interact with the digital world.
We looked at the mathematical infrastructure of how we locate information.
Right, the base 64 encoding. And we explored the behavioral psychology of consensus seeking, realizing that we triangulate multiple sources to quiet our own anxieties about the immediate future.
We need that chorus of voices.
We really do. And finally, we confronted the inherent fragility of relying on those fragile server coordinates for our spiritual guidance, while realizing that the act of curation itself is a deeply human ritual.
The structure of the information told us everything we needed to know. We didn't need to know the destination to understand the mapmaker's anxiety. The pursuit of meaning is vividly evident in the careful compilation of the links.
Which leaves me with a final thought for you to chew on as you go about the rest of your day. We just spent all this time analyzing a stranger's digital constellation, their 9 chosen coordinates for surviving a single week.
A snapshot of their mind.
But consider what you rely on. If someone were to look at your browser history right now, if a digital archaeologist were to find a simple text file with 9 links representing your current week, what would those links point to?
That's a great question.
Would they be 9 news articles inducing panic, 9 escape videos of people building cabins in the woods, 9 productivity hacks? Are you consciously curating the digital coordinates of your life, or are you just drifting through the algorithmic cosmos, letting the servers dictate your destiny?